Hello and welcome back to the studio for this week's episode of Tutorial Tuesday. Today I thought we would do a very nice spring mountain scene with a little path leading out to a distant mountain, a little stream, and some trees. Something really simple today, working on some of our spring colors, and we'll probably throw in some flowers at the end. Be sure to check the description below for the paint list, and let's jump right into it. To start off today, I'm just going to use a little bit of phthalo blue in the sky. I wanted to do a really simple scene today and see if we can knock it out real quick. We're just going to work this blue into the sky. The light is going to be coming from the left hand today. Left hand side. I said left hand. That was kind of weird. Left side. Left side. And I'm just going to work in this very, very simple phthalo blue, working in a nice tight X pattern from the top down. That way we can get a nice smooth sky, darker at the top and lighter at the bottom. This is the most simple stroke if you'd like to have a very soft and blended sky. I'm using quite a bit of pressure right now to help that paint get into the canvas. And with one more go, we'll just start over here. Really emphasize that dark on the corner. Phthalo blue is a very strong color. It'll take over your painting very quickly. So be careful and just allow it to blend with the liquid white as we work down. And we'll come back and soften that later. Let's put in a little bit of blue to get our reflections started down below and to harmonize our entire painting. We're just going to work this paint in from the outside and allow it to soften. We're going to have some water up here, so we do want this blue. But we want it to be nice and light back here in the distance. Maybe something like that. And I'm going to pick up some Phthalo Green now. Just get a touch of that on the brush. Allow it to mix with the Phthalo Blue and Phthalo Green. Make a very nice turquoise color for water. And I think it just works really well for those high alpine kind of runoffs, because it's going to have some of that very cold glacier type water, and it's going to get that green hue to it. So we're just going to work that in. I'm going to try and leave this nice little sheen across the top here so that maybe we can have some naturally reflected light into our water. We'll just soften that, and I'm going to wipe out some of the paint from the brush because I still have a good bit. And this is my same dirty brush. I just want to get a little bit of our turquoise color up into the sky. So I'm using my dirty brush just to allow a little bit of mixture to happen here. I'm very light on the brush right now with my X stroke. Just trying to get that to blend with our liquid white even more. Just a touch. Now we'll pick up a clean, dry blending brush, and we're going to start in our light area. Soften. I'm going to go down into the water just a touch and bring it back up. And then we'll go up into our sky and bring that down. Starting in our lightest areas, we're going to start picking up the liquid white and allow that to blend with these blues on the canvas just until it gets nice and soft. My hand is getting a little tired. Okay, let's just bring this up and soften. And we want this whole canvas to be covered with our blue paints. And we don't really want there to be any crisp white sections. So we just want to get these to soften all the way together. And we get out the brush strokes by going all the way across in a long stroke. It's a little harsh over here. Let's just soften that. And all the way across again to get the brush strokes out. And we can come down into our water down here and allow this center area to really soften again, going up and down. Let's wipe off this brush. We're picking up a little bit of paint now, which is okay. That's what we want. Nice and soft here. All the way across, down into our water. And there we are. This type of preparation for the canvas is very, very important. I think the most important step of this whole process is probably this, just getting it set up and ready. Whatever. Let's just move on and not worry about my lighting situation, which is always changing and is so veritable. I just wish it would be a little bit easier, but whatever. Okay, I think I'm gonna put in some clouds today. Let's do, I really like the sable brush for putting in clouds, so I'm just gonna roll with that today. You can use a fan brush too. It's a very useful tool. Just pick what works best for you. I'm gonna get some Alizarin Crimson and Phthalo Blue, much more crimson than Phthalo Blue, to make kind of a little bit of a lavender color. Then we're gonna grab some titanium white. Just allow those to blend on the brush so we can get a nice, fun variety of color. And we'll lighten this up. A little more red in there. I want this to be a nice morning kind of a scene, so we're going to pick some fun, soft, bright colors. And we'll build on them so it'll be nice and subtle, but also very fun. So let's put in some clouds. We're just putting in the bottoms of our clouds, and we'll soften them out and add our highlights to them in a minute. Kind of just building some long clouds on the horizon. You can just wiggle them out of the brush, just so simple. Just let them happen. We're just picking out a few ideas first, kind of laying in the backdrop, and then we can build our clouds as we grow higher into the atmosphere. Down here, close to the horizon, they're going to be very long and flat. Work with that to help build the depth in your scene. Soften this back. Maybe it will do something like that. Now, We're going to wipe off that brush, whatever brush you're using. Even if you're using your fan brush, just wipe off the excess paint. Go right into the thick titanium white. The paint that we just put on was also thick, and it was sticking to our very thin mixture of these blues that we have on. It's important, like I was saying, to have this base layer so that we can put on top of it the next couple layers. So we're layering the thick and thin together, and then it'll be really, really simple for you to just grab these little highlights on the clouds. So we put in our lavender color and we kind of scrub it in, and you don't want there to be too much excess paint on there. You just want to soften it with your brush. And now we're using a very thick titanium white just with our dirty brush, and we're going to put that on top of our clouds. And we just allow that titanium white, the very thick titanium white, just to blend naturally with these colors that we have on the canvas. Now we're picking up the Phthalo Green, Phthalo Blue, and up here we're going to be picking up more Phthalo Blue, and it just mixes naturally on the canvas, and it takes out a lot of the effort. It's really quite fun. Now I'm just using my dirty brush, going right into that thick titanium white, and because I have a dirty brush, it's going to get this nice kind of a gray mixture. We want that. We're just going to touch on our highlights. Our sun is coming from the left. The sun is coming up. It is rising over here on the horizon, and it is getting up into the sky, just touching on our clouds, giving them a little bit of light. And we're going to come back and soften all of this out, and then we'll do one last highlight. Very fun, very simple way to build clouds. Just always moving. There's no right or wrong way. As long as you are focusing on the layers and always keeping in mind your light source, you can build whatever you want as far as clouds are concerned. There we go. There's all kinds of them out there. Look at those clouds just building. I think there might be a little afternoon storm out here. Who knows? Just build those clouds. This is a thick paint on a very soft brush, and this thick paint wants to come off and play with these other paints. Right now I'm picking up a lot of Phthalo Blue. Just pay attention to that. There we go. All right, let's pick up a blending brush. I'm going to wipe out my sable brush because I'm going to use that again. I'm just going to set that down. All right, nice and semi-clean brush. You can tell it's not really that clean, but that's okay. We're just going to take this blending brush that we were using for the sky, and we're going to go in between and just allow these two paints to mix. Soften it, tap it. I do all kinds of different movements. I just think it's important to not do the same movement. So you don't want to always just drag your cloud down into one direction. Give it some movement. I tap it, you can wiggle it, do a little squiggle, maybe a little pull. You know, they're going to be flat on the bottom, so you can always pull out the bottom and just soften it. Maybe over here we want to just really soften this. I'm using just the corner of the brush. It's a little tough to see, but I like to turn it just to the corner and allow those few bristles on the edge to kind of soften. Be sure to wipe off your brush whenever you are noticing that you're picking up more paint. We just want to soften this. Softening, bringing those two paints together and allowing our cloud to just take shape up here and blow around in the wind. It's really nice. Now we're going to lift up our cloud and give them a nice pull flat on the bottom. We'll kind of come down at an angle here and across this way. We want to make sure that we get out all the brush strokes. There we are. Very nice. Very nice. Now, let's pick up our sable brush or fan brush. Like I said, you can still use a fan brush here. What we're looking for now is a slightly thinner version of that bright color we were just using. And I think we're going to go for a little bit of, ooh, let's get daring here. Let's use some yellow ochre. This is bold and a little touch, just a little touch of bright red. So we have yellow ochre and bright red, thin down to a medium texture. Now this is just slightly softer than our thick titanium white. We need this to be a different texture so that it will stick to our clouds that we already put up there. So this is a thinner texture and it's going to stick to our clouds up here. The trick is though, is it is still a little bit of a different texture, so it's gonna be really bright and kind of, we just have to be really careful. So I'm just trying to get the right color here. I really want it to be kind of like a bright peachy color, maybe a touch of Indian yellow in there. I didn't want to go straight for the Indian yellow because we've got a lot of blue up here, and yes, it could be a little bit much. So let's just see how we can get some of this gold and sunshine to pop and play in these clouds without getting green, because we don't want that. So we do have a little bit of our phthalo green up here, which can help, and it can help to kind of gray out your colors every now and then. It is beneficial to have a little green in the sky, but that's not what I was going for today. So let's just put a few little pops of our golden sunshine right out there. Make sure that you clean off your brush if you're picking up a lot of phthalo blue. We don't want that, so you have to be very, very, very careful. Very careful. Let's do just a touch up here. I think I'm seeing it just shining up in there. Oh yeah, now I'm gonna clean that off. I totally just picked up so much blue. Now, the easiest way to reload your brush after you've picked up all your blue is go right into the thick titanium white, get your gray mixture, and then we go into our thinner, softer highlight color. Pick up a little liquid white if it has thickened too much, and it'll allow you to just put that new color right on top. It'll want to stick. And if it doesn't stick, then you need to change the consistency of it a little bit. Sometimes you might have too much paint up on the canvas and it's not going to want to stick to that. So you can also soften some of the paints that you have up on the canvas, and that's going to help you to get your next layer to stick. That's why we were blending and kind of working these colors together. So those steps are really important. Don't forget them. And if your paint doesn't stick, then just work with the texture. Thin it down or thicken it and try. Don't give up, because it'll work. This is such a rewarding process, the wet on wet, because you can really get a painting done pretty quickly if you just remember all of your steps. And it's not necessarily about being the fastest painter or anything, but you know, it's a little bit more confidence boosting when you can complete something and you know, admire the hard effort that you went through, but also not use your entire day. Maybe you want to go outside and you want to paint. So now you can do them both in one day by just speeding up your process just a little bit. Now, I think we're going to have a lot of shaded clouds down in this area, but I want to put in just a few more pops of light over here. I'm really liking the way this kind of peach is playing in the sky. Now I'm going to wipe out my brush, and I'm picking up a clean sable brush. You can use any brush that you would like. You can use a 1-inch brush here. I'm just going to soften the edges on our bright gold. And I really, really like these sable brushes for this because they're very, very soft. And they, with this texture that we have going on up on the canvas right now, they just do such a wonderful job of softening everything without really pulling off a lot of paint, because that's not what we want. We want to leave all this up here and just soften out our edges. Isn't that fun? Who says you can't have green in the sky? There it is. I'll just soften. I want to soften all of these so that you just can't quite tell the exact orientation of all the clouds, but you could totally see the light playing and bouncing, and just showing off. Just tapping now, wiping out my brush in between a lot of these because I don't want to make them very dirty. And that's also another wonderful thing about using the smaller brushes every now and then, is you can use them pretty quickly and they don't get really dirty and they're easy to clean out. So I really like the sable brushes because I can use them for these little things, and I can have a dirty one and not worry about needing to clean my bristles, just so that I can have an effective blending process. I know that I can just pick up a new sable brush and blend it the way that I want to and move on. So it does help me and speeds up my process a little bit. I'm seeing just a tiny bit like it just needs just one more little pop here. So bear with me as I pop on this last little touch of highlight. I'm just gonna go right into the bright red, which, wow, way too much there. Bright red, kind of going for a pink now, thinned down, and we'll just right on a couple edges here. Just a touch of beautiful peachy sunshine. That's good. We can always come back and add more to the clouds. That's something that is, as long as you're not covering the whole cloud up, letting them sit for just a few minutes to kind of just dry a tiny bit, and then you can come back in and add a little bit more if you want to. It's a really great way to do that. Now I'm going to move on. We're going to move into the next section of this painting. I want to paint a nice little spring kind of a mountain, so we're going to mix up a little bit of a lavender color. I've got a touch of phthalo green in there as well, just to harmonize. Phthalo green, phthalo blue, and alizarin crimson, much more crimson than phthalo blue. We do want this to be a little bit more to the blue side. I think that would just be very pretty today, so that's what I'm gonna do. Feel free to change it up however you would like. There's definitely no rules. I'm just showing you how I paint in my wet on wet process, and I hope that it inspires you in some way. So let me know in the comments below if you like what we're doing today, and if it's inspired you to want to paint. I would love to know that in the comments below, so let me know. I'm going to cut off a little roll of this paint. I wanted it to be kind of a marbled color so that we can push that mountain back just a little bit. So let's just start. And I'm going to pop in something maybe like this, and then we'll have a little bit of a kind of a ridge out here. I want to scrape off most of the excess paint. But not all of it. Let's do and then maybe we'll have this one kind of working out and down over here. Kind of a nice distant mountain today. But it's gonna be nice and shiny and popping in this sun. I think I want this just a touch more to the blue side. I just grabbed just a teensy bit more blue into my mixture. So you can do that, you can change it, flavor it however you want. There are no rules. No rules. Now you can see here as I'm painting that I'm catching on my center board. What am I, the word I'm looking for? Stretcher bar, there we go. I'm catching on the stretcher bar in the back. No big deal. Don't worry about it. You can spray the back of your canvas with water, which is what I do. It does help to tighten up the canvas. It makes it a lot more usable. But you know what? You're just gonna have it happen. And if you paint with canvases that have stretcher bars every now and then, you're gonna start to catch it. We're just applying paint on the canvas right now, so it doesn't matter. We'll go ahead and soften this up before we finish, so we won't see those lines. But while we're applying this paint, don't worry about it. Just get the paint on the canvas. And I think we'll have like a nice little kind of meadow way back here, and we've got some slopes and this mountain, something like that. And I'll just get this guy going all the way across. I will say I am very conflicting on this stretcher bar today. Just so happened to put my mountain right in the perfect spot. But like I said, it's no big deal. We're gonna work with it. And right now, we just want to make sure that the paint is working very well into the canvas, getting into all of these little holes and filling it up. So we can scrape off the excess, kind of starting to work in our angles here. Okay, now I'm gonna set that knife down and pick up 2-inch brush, just soften out the base. This is where the pressure on the brush is very important. If you push too hard, you are going to make that stretcher bar really pop out. So we just have to be kind of careful here. We're tapping, blending. We want this paint to be relatively even so that when we come to laying down our highlights and shadows, that it's gonna lay nice and evenly. So we just soften this out. Soften this out. And I'm just gonna get rid of some of the paint that I picked up right over here in the corner and lift. And we can just go straight across to soften that even more. And we'll just leave that for now. Mix up a little bit of a highlight by picking up some titanium white. It's very thick. And let's just go right over here. We'll pick up a little bit of our mountain mixture. Put that in there. And we'll grab some titanium white. And we'll keep this just very simple in our color with our mountain mixture. And titanium white. We'll cut off a little roll of this paint, and I'm going to start on this peak right out here. And pull out some highlights. these little individual peaks. Got a nice big mountain still with some spring snow. Maybe we'll get this little peak out here, and he's got a kind of a ridge coming down, and these ones out here. Maybe we'll bring this all the way around. And we'll just pick out these over here. These are going to be a little bit further away, kind of some more distant hills, so we'll just pop on a little bit of sunshine. And then we'll mix up a shadow color by grabbing some titanium white and our mountain mixture. A little bit more of the mountain mixture in this one, and we're going to grab just a touch more of our Phthalo Blue and Phthalo Green. With our nice shadow mixture, we'll just start over here and pull out some of the back sides of our mountain. We're just laying some of the foundation. We can keep building our mountain here. We just want to start with a few steps to get our first idea of where the front and the backs and our highlights and where the sun is hitting. If you're painting a specific mountain range, it's different, but I just thought we would kind of make this one up as we're going. So it's not any particular mountain range. Although it may look like one, I'm not really following any specifics. It's probably one I've seen somewhere, but we're just doing very, very simple highlights and shadows. Now we're going to take our blending brush and we want to just soften this. So you lift up in the same direction as the way that you are laying your paint out. We just lift and soften. And this helps you to just get a really good idea of, maybe you'll see something differently once you soften it out. I like to soften it like this, and then I actually will step back and take a look. And when you step back, you're really going to get a good look at kind of the layout of it, and you can play around with maybe a new ridge or something like that. So let's do that. Really cool. So I think what I saw is I kind of want to add in a few more ridges this way. So we've got a couple coming in, and we'll just push this mountain forward. You just grab these little ridges and kind of pull them right out as they're coming down the front of this mountain. And maybe right here we've got this nice bright, kind of ran out of my highlight color, so we just mix up a little bit more mountain mixture, bright red, and titanium white. We can want to marble that. Having variety is good. So you just marble it on the canvas and cut off your little roll. And maybe we'll have this one, just a nice big ridge here. Give that one a shadow this way. Little bit more of our shadow mixture. We're mixing our dark mountain mixture with Phthalo Blue and Phthalo Green to make our shadow color here. A little bit more here, and we can take our highlight and bring them right down. got some more shadows right over here. A little bit of a highlight. Don't want to forget that one there. And right down this. There we go. Shadows and highlights. Move them together. You can just come right up into these highlights and kind of pull some of them back. Now we want to incorporate some of our fun sunshine colors that we have. Because we already put it up above, it'll be nice and easy. We know what colors we want. Yellow ochre and bright red. Now we've got a beautiful peachy sunrise color, and we're just going to allow this to drag right over the top of some of these areas. Something like that. It's just gonna pop on there and just tickle its way down. Maybe a little more pop. Little Indian yellow, yellow ochre, bright red. Just play with those colors. It is so fun to pop these bright colors onto the mountains, because when you're out there in the morning, it totally looks like this. So you have to paint it because it's real. Now, we want to take just a touch of titanium white and get a nice bright phthalo green. And we want to shine right on the back side. Just a touch of this. This is going to go so far. We don't want too much, but I really want to make this shine and have that kind of that fresh snow or melting snow, because it's spring, kind of feel. So it gets it kind of shiny. And we have this nice shiny sun on one side, so we need to kind of match that and get this shiny little snow on the other side. So we just grab it and allow some of that to pop on, just to give a nice bit of variety and fun. Oh, isn't that nice? Let's try some right here. Ooh, there we go. Fun. Yes. All right, now we're just going to blend out the bottom by giving these nice little tap. Very careful not to damage all that wonderful work that we just did, but we do want to soften it and remove some of these lines. Just like that. Lift, lift. Yeah, well, I think that's fun. Let's leave that just the way it is. And we're gonna move on to the next bit here. I'm just going to kind of play with another little ridge out here. This one is closer, it's darker. In fact, it's actually going to be slightly in the shadow. As our sun and light sources over on this side. Let's just give this a nice little kind of a distant ridge out here. Go ahead and blend, soften out the base. Just tap it this way. And let's just bring it all the way across. Maybe it's kind of all the way out there. Get rid of some of that extra paint, and we can soften this. This is still going to be our water down here, so we always want to make sure that we're pulling that flat across once we have applied anything extra. Always flat. Water is always going to run flat, no matter what. Okay. Now we're going to have a little bit of light on this side potentially coming in, but this one's going to be kind of more shadowy. So let's just mix up a tiny bit of rocky shadow color. I'm going to go into my same mountain mixture that we were just working with, marble that, and grab some Dyke Brown. A little bit more dark. And just going to pull our shadowy rock right on down here. Just let it come off the knife, just however it wants to. And maybe we'll give this some texture, something like that. Very simple. Tap out the base and give it a little bit of a lift. Now, the fun part. Pick up your fan brush and we're going to mix up a nice green mixture. I'm going to just clean off this here, and we'll go Phthalo Blue, Alizarin Crimson, Sap Green. We'll put in just a touch of Phthalo Green as well. Mix this very nicely by picking it up and flipping it over. Now we've got a nice blended green color. I'm going to pick up some titanium white on my fan brush. This is very thick titanium white, and then I'm going to go into that fun green mixture that I just mixed up. We're going for a medium darkness here. And we're just going to, let's see, oh, I didn't really highlight that side over there. Let's do, well, we'll do that in a minute. I'm just going to come down in this area and put in a nice little tree line. We've got some medium darkness with our green. And we're just going to drop in our trees here. Get a little bit more of that dark. Now we're kind of blending out of the titanium white, so it's getting darker now. We just want to layer these in here to make it nice and soft and dark. We can pull down some of this. A little bit more dark. And maybe we'll just throw in I want to bring this up. There we go. Now we can just pull down our reflections and go straight across. And maybe we just have a little kind of a hill out here in front of this other one. And it just comes right on down. Pretty simple, just tap out a little hill. Kind of pull the fan brush down and it even gives you some fun little tree branch ideas. It just gives you a little bit of that feeling of what you're looking for. I'm going to grab a new fan brush, nice and clean fan brush, and we're going to pop in a few highlights over here. I'm just going to go into my yellow ochre, Indian yellow, phthalo green. I'll grab some of our tree mixture there and then back into our yellows. I just want a light, kind of a green color. And we're gonna come over here and pop in a few highlights on these little hills out here. We'll have this one come all the way down. Let's try this guy back here. We can always add a little bit more color as we are working through. The liquid white really helps to thin the paint enough to get the paint to stick. We're just trying to kind of make ourselves a nice little meadowy, hilly area over here. Kind of distant, not too much detail going on. You're not going to see individual trees and really too much just out here on this little meadowy area. Just tap out a little bit. Maybe we can throw a touch of this into the water. Well, actually, the water's going to be over here. Let's leave it. Let's leave it. I'm making it up. Let's do a few little highlights on these trees as the sun is kind of popping through. Maybe on the top we might have on just a couple of these a little bit of sun popping through. And we don't want to leave them out. So we just pop in a few little highlights going down on the left side. Nothing crazy. Let's get this a little bit more to the blue side, and we'll just throw in a few kind of more in the shadows back here. We just want to pick out a couple trees and just, accentuate them a little bit. We can even come back with our palette knife by just dragging it through a little bit of paint. We can pick out just a few sticks and twigs, and we can pop some of those down into the water, maybe even some stuff down here, just a little bit of our color matching and we're gonna leave that. Now, I want to do a little bit of a shore over here in this distant shore area. I'm just picking up our browns, and I'm gonna go into the green and kind of allow those to mix. Way out here, this is further behind, we're gonna put in a little sandbar, nice and dark. These trees just kind of go right up to the edge of the water, I think, and they're just all the way, really dense trees, and we just throw in a nice flat sandbar here. And then you can take your little highlight brush that you were using, just dip into some of the greens. We're going for slightly more to the blue side, but a little bit of light in there. And you can just pop right on top of this dark, a tiny little bit, just a little idea of some little bits of shrubs right on the edge, just a tiny little bit, not too much. Like I said, distance, we need less detail, so we just a little bit of an idea. Cool. Now, let's mix up a little bit of kind of idea of some highlights on these rocks. I'm just pulling down just a touch of this dark into our water so we can have that reflected. And I'm going to pick up some Dyke Brown and a little bit of our Phthalo Blue, and we'll just mix that into a kind of a cool gray blue, and we'll just pop on this color right on the top. Just drag it on top of that dark, and you have a shore just like that. Now, pick up your blending brush. I'm going to wipe my blending brush out because I know that I picked up a lot of paint. And just right at the base, give these a little bit of a pull straight down, and then we're going to go all the way across. Here, we'll just do this. We might end up having our reflections over here and turn it into a lake. I don't know, but I think we're going to turn this into a little stream. Let's try that. Now, titanium white into our blue and green mixtures, and just a touch of liquid white. We want this to be a medium thickness. Let's grab some more titanium white. It's kind of too thin. Medium thickness. Kind of want it to be like a soft color on the thickness. Not hard, but not runny, just medium softness. Now with this, I cut off a little roll of paint, but I'm actually going to put some on the top of the knife as well, so I have a double-loaded palette knife. I think it's a really fun way to get this waterline right up into that back area and make it kind of just that nice fine little line up there. And we'll just run a few just like that. Let's try maybe some water lines out here. Make sure that they are nice and flat, and you can just soften them out. Anything just like that. There we go. Very simple little water line, looking good. Now, let's add with our nice dark paint. Let's just bring our shore kind of around something like this, okay? I'm thinking we'll probably cover up this area here with, oh, I don't know, maybe we just have a tree. Crazy, getting crazy. Make sure you have a nice dark paint. We have our Phthalo Blue, Phthalo Green, Alizarin Crimson, all mixed on the brush to make this nice dark mixture. And then we can just throw in our little hillside over here. Looks like Phthalo Green, Sap Green, Alizarin Crimson, Phthalo Blue, all of our darks. Makes a nice green mixture that's nice and dark. That's what we want. Now into our dark with the fan brush. You could probably use another brush. It might be a little bit faster. But I thought it would be nice just to kind of get this dark in over here. I hope you all have been enjoying this little painting so far. Please let me know in the comments below what you think. I just wanted to do something very simple today. I was kind of feeling almost like I didn't want to paint, but then at the same time I knew that if I did, it would make me feel better. So I'm painting something that is just kind of coming out of my brain today, and yeah, I hope that you enjoy it. And if you give it a go, definitely send me an email, Kaylee@KayleeRakowski.com. I would love to see what you're working on, and yeah, just let me know what you think. I hope that you are enjoying my Tutorial Tuesday platform here on YouTube. That's not going anywhere. We're going to be here every Tuesday posting something that is oil painting related and has some kind of, you know, idea to help inspire you to paint something yourself. I hope that you will give it a go, and if you've been thinking about painting and you really want to try it, I really hope that you would try it, and then let me know what you think, because it's really fun. Sometimes it can be really challenging, but you know, we all need to challenge ourselves a little bit here, so give it a try. Give it a try. Who knows? You might surprise yourself too, and you might be really good at it. I don't know. But I think if you try this process just maybe once, you'll have a lot of fun. It is really gratifying to just have a painting done and you know, go on with your day. So I think I'm going to go outside for a little hike when I'm done here. And so I'm kind of feeling like, you know, I just want to have fun and put in some things that I know that I'm always very happy when I paint trees, and you can paint a nice family of trees and they all stand together and work together and communicate to each other, and they're just out here having a good time, looking at this good view, watching the sun come up on another beautiful day. Do you know that trees breathe out when the sun rises? There's a lot of oxygen, extra oxygen in the air every morning. Definitely my favorite time of day, especially during the summer months, getting out and watching the sun rise. It's a really beautiful way to spend your morning. Definitely would encourage it. And since it is such an enjoyable way to spend our morning, that's why I thought we would paint a nice morning scene today. I'm just building up on the texture. I'm going to make this some nice grass back here. Maybe put some boulders in, and then we're going to have a little path. It just helps to have some texture to give the paint something to stick onto. And just really pushing the brush in and just kind of letting it happen. There's nothing really strict about it. I'm going to put that down and pick up my palette knife, and then let's build a few branches. We'll just cut off a little roll of paint, and we can just give this a little half turn. You kind of round the tree. And then we'll put in a few more out here, just maybe they're kind of like down that back side of the hill as they're going down towards the water. And let's leave that for now. I think I want to, before I lose it, I'm seeing it right now, I have to put it in. I've got to put in our little path. So I mixed up a little bit of brown color, and I'm just going to kind of pretend that this path is just going to kind of go right over this backside and kind of down and towards that mountain out there. So I'm just going to kind of give this a little bit of a wiggle and just make sure that I put the beginnings of my path out here, give this a little bit of a rocking motion, kind of like the trail is set into the earth there. And maybe we'll have it come all the way down. Let's go this way, all the way out to this corner, right out over here. What do you think of that? Maybe. And I want to put a little bit of a highlight on it. We're just going to stick with kind of our gray mixture that we made over here. Just similar colors as this sandbar, Dyke Brown, some blues, and titanium white. I do have a touch of red in here as well. Just a touch. And just use that nice and thick paint to drag out a beautiful little path. Just a high alpine little dirt path out here. A little bit more paint. Just give it a nice little wiggle. Shoot, that's looking real nice, huh? I know it doesn't look like much yet, but I really like to put in the path and then kind of like build some sand and grasses and stuff around it. So this helps to just set it into the painting a little bit here. And I'm gonna pull up some of these. Just give it a little bit of shape. Maybe. I see it. Mixed up a little bit more brown. And I'm just kind of seeing a little bit of rocks over here. Just a little more. And then we'll take our highlight color. A little bit lighter now. Something like that. I'm just going to wipe off my brushes here. Okay, I've got a nice thin, kind of medium texture, but pretty thin green. And I'm just going to start highlighting our trees out here. This is a little bit too bright. I'm going to just kind of dull that down. Kind of mix up the flavor a little bit. Maybe make them all just a little different. The sun might be hitting them different. The way that the water reflects light can be different. Maybe the clouds There could be clouds above and it could be using different light. Who knows? We're just throwing on our highlights. You do need the liquid white or brush wash to thin it down. The liquid white is going to make it a lot lighter. So play with that until you get a color that you want. And just pop it in. Now we got a nice little set of highlights on our trees, and then we're gonna work down on our kind of little hilly field over here. I like to use the fan brush to make grass. You can just push up with the fan brush, and then you just start layering these together, working like semi-flat, but also focusing on the direction and the angles of the land and the way that you want it to be laying. But if you just push the fan brush up, you're gonna get these nice little movements. And it's a very simple way to put grass in. And you just layer it one after the other. Maybe we'll go all the way up to this hill, kind of give it a front. And I'm thinking I want a little bit more color. So we're gonna go darker first. Kind of some golds, perhaps. Then I'm thinking way over here, we're gonna have the sun again popping on. As the sun is coming down here, it's going to be shining in these areas. So we'll get some liquid white and go right into Indian yellow and our greens. Just mix up a cute little green mixture here. And there's a couple different ways that you can do this. Right now I'm using the fan brush very flat and pushing it up, but you can also use it with the corner. And if you use the corner, you can get all kinds of fun little bushes. See that? You just push up and you can get some nice little bushes. Let's get some Indian yellow, yellow ochre, bright sap green, phthalo green. Vary up your colors, get all kinds of colors, all the greens and fun. Just pop those bushes in there. Look at that. We didn't even have to try very hard, and we've got all kinds of bushes and texture, shrubs all happening down over here. Now, what I really like to do is just to clean up some of the shore or some of these path areas. We can take some of our liquid color, liquid white. We'll go into our greens and blues. We kind of want to mix up like a shadow green. We'll use phthalo green, phthalo blue, sap green. A little bit of a darker color here. And we'll just come right into the path and pop in a few. Get some liquid white. And just pop in some of this kind of a shadowy color there. Really nice. Now, something very simple. We can come in and tap on a few of these just to soften them, and it disperses some of that paint. It really works. It really works. Give this a try. We just want to take down some of that. There we go. Now, I want to put on a nice, kind of like a little sheen of highlight down this path, just in a couple areas. Right here, maybe right here. It's going to be catching our sun. Maybe right here. It's a nice rocky path out here. It's looking good. Oh, that's really nice. Okay, you know what this painting needs is some grasses and some flowers, so we're gonna do that. I'm going right into my brush wash. Just get the sable, or this is the script liner, get it nice and wet with your wash, and then we're gonna come in and we're gonna make this edge nice and grassy. Just lift up with the brush and then give it a little flick. And if you thin out the brush, basically just whatever color, it doesn't matter, it just needs to be thin, it'll pull out some grasses. We're gonna work in stages and pull out some grasses in this back area here. Maybe we'll get a little bit of liquid white with our thin mixture. And now we've got a nice light, bright green grasses popping in there. Way out here. I mean, spring has been good out here today. These grasses are growing crazy. It's almost like late summer, but I'm still calling it spring. Now I'm going to work on this next layer. Make sure that it's nice and thin. You have to have thin paint for this to work. It has to be thin on the brush. And like I said, it doesn't quite matter what color you're using. It just has to be thin. I like to use a combination of lights and darks. If you're using dark first, then you use light next. And you'll pull out your highlights. They'll just naturally happen for you. Let's work in this layer here. Pulling that up, make it nice and thin. Nice and thin. And if it doesn't stick, make it thinner. You want to look at the shape of your land and kind of make your grasses match that. You know, if your hill's kind of coming down this way, maybe your grasses are falling in. Or if you're painting wind, you know, that's another one. You might have them all going in one direction because of wind. So just think about that and make a conscious decision of the direction of your grasses. I'm just kind of throwing them in all the directions, willy-nilly, because I like to. Listen, I'm just showing you how I paint. This isn't the you know, you have to do it this way. But if you want it to look like this, like if you're like, wow, that's epic and I love everything about this, then paying attention to exactly how I'm doing it is going to be really effective. But ideally, I'm hoping that you just take some of these techniques when it comes to mixing our thick paint with our thin paint, and then varying our colors to get us to achieving the end result. So if you're looking for, oh, I want to have this certain look, like I'm going to show you how to achieve those certain looks. So anyway, I'm going to paint some flowers now. I'm thinking I just want some red flowers. They seem cool, so I'm gonna paint some red flowers, and I'm just using my sable brush in just a really thick paint, kind of on the corner, just letting it make its own little shape. And I'm just dragging some of this thick paint down. When you paint flowers, you just want to make sure that you're always facing the cone of the flower kind of inward toward the vine, or you know, wherever it's going to be growing from. So you can kind of just paint whatever you want. There's all kinds of flowers. Look online and get some ideas. I spend a lot of time outside, so I do see a fair variety of flowers, but there's so many different kinds, and I don't want to make it selective for you on what to paint. So I'm just painting something. I don't even really know. Maybe Indian paintbrush. It's kind of big for that, but they're out there. There's all kinds of beautiful alpine flowers, and you really can't go wrong. So give it a try. I'm using now thick titanium white and bright red to kind of put on a little bit of a second color, almost a highlight color on these red little flowers here. And then I'm going to pick up my sable brush and mix up a nice green, a little darker. It's kind of too pure. That'll do. There we go. Twirl it into a nice little fine point, and then we'll just drag up some idea. It does need to be very thin, and if it doesn't stick, just thin it down. Thin it till it runs. And I want this to stand out more, so I'll lighten it up. There we go. Now you can pull out a few where you think you might see them. Give them a nice little stem. Something like that. Something else that's really fun to paint, some of the little bells that you'll see just out here. And they come in all kinds of different colors. They're really small. I'm going to start with some off-white ones. We'll go into the liquid white and kind of just into kind of like a gray pink. We can pick out all of our colors that we've been using and just kind of mix up a light, not pure white, because it just doesn't look right. A nice little off-white color. And we're just going to push in some little bells. You kind of push the brush into the canvas. You want the script liner to bend. Ooh. You kind of push it up and let it bend. It's a little bit of a tricky move, but practice it. You can practice it on your palette a couple times, just by pushing it up on your palette. You can give it a practice, but you'll get the hang of it once you push in a few onto the canvas. You'll be like, oh, okay. And we just kind of pop them in. I'm going to make them just a little bit more pink as I'm moving closer. And I'm always focusing on the direction, right? They always need to have their little, the angles. So always thinking about that. And, think about the shape and the direction that you're working with. Just making sure that they all make sense. I'm kind of bending them over this way. It's a little hard to see right now, but hopefully it is making sense. And I'm just trying to pick out all of these little ground areas right by the edge of the dirt, not in the deep shrubs, but right on the edges here. There's going to be all kinds of wonderful little flowers in the springtime, and they'll just start popping up. Maybe we'll do some kind of lavender ones. We'll just go right into our lavender color with the liquid white on the brush. And now we've got a little bit of a purple mixture. Let me just do the same thing. Some of my favorite flowers are these bluebells, where they just have these beautiful bluish purple kind of cone-shaped flower. So we'll mix that up too. Lavender, we want some Alizarin Crimson and Phthalo Blue and titanium white or liquid white, whatever you need, because it does need to be thin still. So we'll thin that down with the liquid white. Now we've got a nice, there we go. Yes, a little bit to the blue side is really where it's at. But a kind of almost lavender, but anyway, there we go. Like I said, all kinds of different colors. And these ones, they kind of grow up in these little bundles like that. I'm gonna grab my chair. Let's continue with some of our flowers out here. I'm gonna get this just a touch darker. Right out here. Push right into the center. Isn't that wonderful? Maybe we'll do another one right out here. Very nice. I just want to keep going and building on these wonderful flowers. I love doing spring flowers. They just they start to just pop out and you'll think, oh, I'm not really doing all that much. And then all of a sudden you have all these flowers and you just don't even know where they all came from. So it's a lot of fun. Just work with your colors and vary them up in a way that is appealing. Let's do a little bit more red in there. Maybe out here we'll do some flowers like this here. Okay. Now let's mix up a few more little grassies, nice and thin, green. Bright green works really well. It needs to be very, very, very thin. We can pull down. Then we'll pull up some grass. I need to make sure that all of these that we just put in all have little bits of grasses at the bottom. And if your paint does not stick anymore, thin it down so that it does. There we go. Just pull some of these. Now, let's go right into the liquid white and bright red. And we're just going to pick out a few of these red flowers out here and just accent them a little bit. Same thing with these little purple ones. You just want a slightly lighter color. So you just go right into some of the liquid white or some titanium white, whatever you need. Just lighten it. You want something lighter than what you have, just to pop on. A little bit of an accent. We want this a little bit more blue. A little more blue. There we go. We just kind of touch on a couple of these on the highlight side. Back into our light green grasses, and we'll just pull up our final little bits here of cleaning out all of the edges. We can just kind of throw in some grass almost on top or behind. This nice light thin green really pops against the majority of these grasses that we have. It just allows it to really set them apart. Maybe out here we'll throw in some more long grass. Now, being a spring painting, we don't want to do any big sunflowers, the daisies. Some of those might show up. We might have some up here, but we'll have just some of the smaller little alpine looking flowers first. And we'll just pop in some little ground cover, ground reds too. Those are around. Maybe a few petals have fallen or something. You just pop in something like that. You know, we've got a lot of really fun color down here, which I'm very much enjoying. Okay, I think to finish this off, we're just going to pop in a few more little pops of color here and there on this hill. Maybe over here we might just have a little bit of pop. Just make up your mind and throw it in. Maybe just a little bit of color. A little bit more out here. Get some liquid white into our yellows. Make it nice and bright and fun. There we go. I think we should do some right here. Okay, I'm really liking that. It's just kind of a simple little scene today. Okay, the final thing. I'm going to pull out a few little sticks and twigs into some of these dark areas because I know they'll be there. We've got some shrubs out here and some bushes, and there's going to be sticks and twigs. There just has to be. Maybe we'll pull in a few little branches from the tree. You can just scrape those right out too. Very simple. Something, maybe a few over here. Okay. You know what this painting needs is a signature. I'm going to thin down my brush and go right into my bright red. I might grab just a touch of liquid white with that And we'll get ourselves a nice little signature, a little happy signature right down in the corner. I like using the bright red for a signature because it usually pops against what you're painting with. I know that some people might not like having a signature on top of the canvas, but you know what? This is how I do it. And you definitely don't have to do this, paint this way, but I'm just showing you one way to do it. Make sure it's nice and thin so that it sticks, and doodle in your name. I like to date mine so that I can keep track of where I am, because I paint a lot of paintings. I paint almost 100 paintings a year. I very much enjoy painting all of them, and I like to look at the dates and just kind of see, oh wow, that was, you know, however many years ago or whatever. And it's fun to see the progress that way. So anyway, let's go ahead and get rid of this there. All right, I'm all done with my painting for today. I really enjoyed doing this fun little scene, and now that the sun is still outside shining, I'm gonna go out and play. Thank you all for joining me in the studio today for today's Tutorial Tuesday. This was tutorial number 40. Crazy. Been really blazing through those Tutorial Tuesdays, so thank you all for joining me here. I hope to see you again next week. My name's Kaylee. I paint wet on wet landscape oil paintings, and you are here for Tutorial Tuesday number 40. Smile and be happy, friends.